It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant. I am once again joined by Deore, my favorite musical artist, who puts out some of the most heart-wrenchingly accurate music. Like, she is in my soul, in my brain, just pulling out experiences and writing them into lyrics. I swear to God, I am obsessed and fangirling over Deore. Deore, welcome back. Thank you for joining and agreeing to come back on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. I've been looking forward to this like all week. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so great. So I'm just so thankful and happy to be here.
Me too. The reason I asked you to come back on, I'm just like, I am extremely excited by your music when I discovered it and really understood, like sat down and listened to the lyrics. I talked about this in the last episode. I could not believe how well you encapsulated the submissive, the bratty, the experience, right? And just where our minds and bodies take us. And you pulled it out and wrote it down in a way that I could never do. Like, I couldn't put these things into words until I had your songs to rely on.
Oh my gosh, that is so encouraging to hear that what I'm making has like impacted you in that way. And I'm just like so thankful and excited to hear that.
Well, greedily, I want more of it. So
I love it.
When I found out you were in the studio making an album, I wanted to know everything. And I was like, I'm going to bring her back on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. It's been crazy. It's been so crazy. It's been, I don't know. I feel like I can be a very impulsive person sometimes. And so like, I've had this like idea of turning the Brat EP into an album since like it was, created, right? So the Brat EP was always meant to like become this fully fledged album at some point. And then my best friend, Charlie XCX, made the Brat album. And I was like, bitch, like, no, I love her. And it was like in all caps too. So I was like, no, I can't do it. But it was always meant to be an album. Some career developments happened in the last couple months. And I just really, really felt like now's the time. You got to start now. And I'm just like looking around like, oh my God, I'm not signed to a label. I quit my nursing job to do this. I'm not self-funding my music in the same way as I was before. I just like feel like I jumped off the deep end and just was like, my community will support me. Like, if this is meant to happen and if this album is meant to be in the world, then it will come into the world. Like, and the people that are hungry for it will be on my team with me and we'll all do it together, essentially. And so I'm really excited that it's been going as amazing as it has so far. But that trust fall, oh my gosh, it's like, and it's an emotion I'm not really used to. And so it's like, it's been a learning curve of like tapping into that like safe, creative, high place while also having to like give up a lot of control because you're relying on an uncertain income to like make it happen. So it's just been like, oh my God.
You have an amazing community that I am proud to be part of and on Discord, but yes, I want us to merge our communities. I need everybody to go find Deore on Indiegogo and search the word Tantrums to find the fundraising for her album, because we need to get this album made. I've never been so sure of anything in my life. Your work needs to be out there.
Thank you so much. And I'm just so excited to like be a part of the kink community and contribute to it in this way. I've been hungry personally for music like this for a long time. And it just like makes me so fulfilled and happy to get to be the person that makes it. Because like my relationship to music is very cathartic and I listen to understand and I write to understand. And having the privilege of getting to give that to other people in the kink community is just like something I don't take lightly and I love so much.
But seriously, your music spoke to me like no other artist has ever spoken to me. So when you very first agreed to be on the podcast, I was super excited because I just felt so seen, you know, and I would encourage anybody who has not already listened to Deore's music to check it out on Spotify. Like, this needs to happen. I can only imagine what you're going through.
Just vibrating. I'm literally vibrating. I feel so powerful and powerless at the same time. Like, it's just this just swinging just constantly. And it's incredible because I feel like as a songwriter, like, I write the best from a place of vulnerability. If I feel like emotionally my back is against the wall, like, I can write really fast. Like, I'll write a song really quickly. I feel like I'm channeling these emotions the way they need to be channeled, but it's also very uncomfortable, and I feel like I'm being stretched at the same time. So I'm just like, ow, this hurts, but I think it's necessary, but it hurts.
So what has the writing process been like? Like, how long have you been writing all of the music for the album?
Oh my God. Back in March, I was like, okay, I'm making an album. I think it was like end of March, early April. I was like, the album's getting made. The planning starts now. Back in April, I was creating the crowdfund itself. It took an entire month to learn how to do it. I designed the shirts, one of them, which I'm wearing right now, which is, you know, exclusively available on the Indiegogo Tantrums page. But it was like all the design, all the putting it together, making sure everything like matched up or whatever. So that was in April. And then in May, I was like, I'm going to write 6 songs, and just go for it. And I haven't written a song like properly since like October. It wasn't like, oh, I have these songs that I've, you know, sat with for a while and I know them all very well. And like, these are all ideas I've been chewing on, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to make a fundraiser to record them. It was like, I'm making an album, I'm going to fund it. And now I got to make the album, like actually write the album. And so, oh my God, in May, I literally would wake up in the morning, I would roll over in bed, grab my guitar, and just play guitar in bed for like 5 hours. For 5 hours a day. It was like the most writing and playing I've done in a very, very long time. And I would just sit in my bed. It was like true gremlin cave energy. My room is not a neat place to be, especially when I'm creating. So imagine like a giant clothes pile with a guitar, me in bed, just trying to get stuff, you know, to flow through. Like I had like bedroom Cheerios that I would just like eat handfuls of Cheerios. And my dom/husband would like come to bed and he's like, why are there Cheerios in bed? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Like,
okay, time out. Your husband, husdom, we'll say it for now, getting in the way of the creative process, / not at all. Like, he is very encouraging of it, but I just want to take a moment. I genuinely thought recently that he was getting in the way of the creative process. I didn't realize he was doing it in service of the creative process.
We have a list of like protocols / tasks that I do every day. But like part of them is like, you know, I bring him my collar to put on me every day. And at the end of the day, he takes it off of me and we go through my tasks. I bring him 3 drinks daily to make sure he's like hydrated, just like service.
Does he work from home?
He does like back and forth. So sometimes he's at home, sometimes he's not. So we have this protocol that we have, and I was missing tasks. And I do that, especially when I get really wrapped up in like music and work and like all that stuff. I'll just like data dump the things I'm supposed to do. And so he had said that like I did not get a perfect day. So he grades me. So I needed an A, right? I needed to get all my stuff done. And I didn't do that. And so he was like, you are not going to drink coffee for a week. You need to have a perfect day every day this week in order to get the coffee back at the end of the week. And so if I miss something, the clock starts over. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
So I hear this and I immediately think the album's never coming if she cannot. If she can't drink coffee. And I really take this personally because I'm not your defender or anything.
Now you are.
We've never been met in person. And I do this like without your permission. Well, I think I gave you a heads up. I said, hey, I'm about to do something here. Because I'm so upset that he has, in my mind, that's it. It's like, And we're going to get to this, Deore. So I wrote a letter from the Kink Council.
I think it was like the Kink Council of something. It was truly iconic. And
so I wrote this whole letter basically condemning, truly I say, formally condemn the excessive and frankly egregious use of force in Deore's punishment, the week-long coffee ban. And I go like into like this 3-paragraph email and I post it on social media. And you reshare it. You also repost it. The true iconic thing was that your husband, your husband, went into full mode and responded accordingly.
Oh my gosh. Literally, it was so funny because like I have my Discord community or whatever, and all I see is a screenshot of your story that he posted, and all it says is, Deore, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So that's how you like saw that it like happened. And I was just like, I have legal representation now.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was working from home that day and he literally made this entire like background, like formal letter paper, like the Office of Discipline and Rewards, I think is what something, the Department of Discipline and Rewards, the DDR. That's what his was. And he wrote back.
Went deep.
It was deep. And I mean, I posted that, like I would update on Instagram regularly about my like prison sentence, essentially to be a brat, because I just wanted to like do
You were rallying people around you.
Like, I'm in jail. This is unjust. That's like a big part of how I brat is just by like obviously giving pushback, but in a like cheeky, like clever kind of way. And so that was like kind of pushing back.
No, in a totally bratty way. Now I have a bone to pick. I think you should have been clearer that you were still allowed to have caffeine.
That was new. Okay.
Oh,
you
okay.
did that for me. You did that for me. So
wait, so I got you caffeine back?
You got me energy drinks. I drink coffee pretty regularly, right? And I can't do it as much as anymore because it really, like the acid reflux really messes with my voice. So I haven't had coffee in probably over a month at this point because I'm recording. Even this energy drink, I haven't had one of those in like 2 weeks. So I'm just like really have to be careful. But when I drink a lot of high caffeinated beverages and I go down to like a tea, that is not cut it. Like my body just really doesn't like do well with that.
Your body does not handle the reduction in caffeine well. Because like a cup of tea is like, what the fuck is this?
It's not that. It's really not that much.
No.
And Husdom is very receptive. Like I could have said at any time, like, hey, this really isn't cutting it for me. Like, blah, 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 blah. But it's more fun to have a legal battle on Instagram. So I did that.
Oh, absolutely. The Kink Council. There was no Kink Council before this happened.
Let me tell you, after you posted that, he went to the store and came back with 3 different energy drinks. Not one. We had options. We had an array of options to choose from. And they lived in the fridge, and I was just living my caffeinated dream of, it was great.
Brats everywhere. You've heard it here from the desk of the Kink consultant.
You personally inspired an entire court case in my Discord that day. There were judges. There was a jury. Like it was like a whole, like one of our Discord members like changed their name to like Judge so-and-so. And now it's so-and-so off-duty judge. Like just that's like what it is. And
I love that.
Like it was like Law and Order SVU like up in here.
Connect me to the judge. I feel we need connections.
I think we might have tagged you.
Hey, if you're loving this episode or honestly even just vibing with the podcast overall, go ahead and tap that 5-star rating. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps us grow this kinky little corner of the world. Because that's what we're building here, right? A space to feel seen, get curious, and explore. All from the privacy of our own headphones. And if something made you laugh, cringe, gasp, or pause to reflect, drop a comment. I want to know what stuck with you or shocked you. I love that little aside. Back to your process. Your creative process sounds, I think, like a lot of creatives. You know, you just needed to be living and breathing it 24/7 with your handfuls of Cheerios.
It's like when I write songs, I write songs the entire day. It's not something I like pick up and put down. So I'll have my guitar. It will live in my head on a loop indefinitely. And I'll just be working it as I'm doing dishes. I'll be working it as I'm like going about my day. Just like there's this piece of my brain that's just constantly like cycling song or whatever.
I understand, sort of. Okay. But I'm also like, how are you forcing yourself to pull this stuff out of thin air?
Oh, it's so hard. I would play on the guitar, and if something felt right, I would just chase it. And the best way I can describe it is just you knock on this door and it doesn't open. You knock on this door and it doesn't open. And then you knock on this one and it opens. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you walk in and then it just starts to like come. It also kind of feels like rock climbing, how it's like you find something to hold on to. And as soon as you find that thing you can hold on to, the rest just kind of comes, which is like very cool. So the Brat EP was a concept EP, which means that the Tantrums album is a concept album. So it all kind of feeds in together, and the songs from the Brat EP are going to like flow into the songs that are the new ones or whatever. What's cool about this writing process is I didn't feel as much pressure to make the songs too drastically different from each other because they were supposed to fit snugly together in this album. So I'd find a door and write a song, but instead of like, all right, time to write a new song, I'm gonna go knock on all the doors again, I just like went deeper in the door and was like, oh, okay, now we're here. Oh, okay, now we're here. And like just kind of wrote it that way. I was very relieved when it was done because there was so much pressure to just like have these songs appear. I technically have to write one more, so I'm gonna write one more song. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but like I kind of have an idea. I want it to be very masochistic and fun and kind of, I don't know, I've learned in this process that I could have an idea for how I want something to go, but the chances of it actually going that way is not like a sure thing. And so I'm just trying to like be open to what it'll actually be, I guess.
Question about masochistic and fun. When you say that, do you mean emotionally masochistic or something more descriptively physical?
Like descriptively physical. So the album, if everything goes according to plan, I want it to come out in October. Like it'll be out October 2025. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, it'd be so much fun to do this masochistic, Halloween-y kind of vibe, getting like chased in the woods or some shit. Just something like, I always really enjoyed when people on social media would talk about taking their partners to Spirit Halloween to like get masks. I would love to just really lean into that and just have it be kind of crazy. I'm just kind of like toying with different ideas of being unapologetically, oh yeah, this guy's, I don't know how to describe it. Some like stalker vibes in there too.
So that's a huge kink right now. The mask kink in book talk world, like the book world. And I need to explain, I was talking to my business manager about this recently, how difficult that is to actually make happen in real life because it's a massive role play of a stalker. It's hard to create.
It seems like a lot, like to go into it, like to organize it and stuff.
But you can't even do it realistically. It's sort of like an abduction scene. Technically you can do it, but yeah, that's also a lot of work. Ultimately, it's like the mask kink is hard to do in real life. Anyway, your description, this is going to turn a lot of people on.
It'd be really fun. And so I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of that. It's hard for me to write when I'm like feeling stressed because that just doesn't feel like authentic. And so like I want the song to come from a very high place, like a very playful, like high place. And I'm just not feeling very high or playful right now. So I'm trying to give myself some like space to just be like, this is a cool concept. It could happen. I want to rhyme like grocery store and restraining order, like really bad. The hook is like, he wants to hurt me and it turns me on, like just like right out the gate. And I just want it to sound very just, oh my God, why are you saying this? Because I feel like even on social media, there's a lot of explaining that has to happen around kink, I think, because it's like, this is kink, but there's safe words, but there's this, but there's that, but there's this, but there's that, just to kind of like prep. You can't assume people know all that stuff, right? And it's because like a lot of people on Instagram are vanilla. And so when you have this jarring content, you kind of have to be like, but this is the world it exists in, like just so we can all be on the same page. And so with this song, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be like, I want this guy to crawl on my window.
When the album comes out, can I do explainers for each song?
Yeah,
social media, I'll be like, and in this song, my whole thing right now lately is it's only kink if there's consent and negotiation. Like that's like the entry level because and then that's the foundation we're working from, and then we'll go from there.
And I just get get so tickled about, like, obviously we know that. Like, we know that going into it, right? Not everybody does. And sometimes I just want to write music that isn't for everybody. And I just want to write shit that sounds fucking crazy and weird. And like the people who get it, get it. And the people that don't. And that's just like, it's like not for you. I think I do enough of the explaining in my other songs and in my other like content, I guess, to where I could like afford to just really say something shocking, I guess. This is my inner brat coming out. I'm just like, I want to piss you off. But like,
your audience is ready. And if not, I'll come in with an explainer video of why this is okay.
Disclaimer, the Brat lawyer disclaimer. I'm just like,
this is now a thing in my mind.
In this song is not representative of Deore as a brand, but it is a product of the times in which it's like.
Oh my gosh, you're so on this. I'm like,
but we'll see what songs happens. But the other songs, I'm so excited about. We're finishing up the production aspect of it, and I'm tracking vocals on Tuesday. And so
what does that mean, to track vocals?
It's like the recording, like to record me singing. For the past 2 weeks, we've just been doing instrumentation and stuff.
Who plays the music that's being recorded?
My producer, Jason Scavone. He primarily plays everything on the album. I'll play guitar sometimes. We build the songs together. So he will be writing the instrumentation with me, like there in the room, and we'll go back and forth and say like, oh, but what if it sounds like this? Or, oh, but what if we put this over here instead? And so there's a lot of back and forth collaboration, but he's the one that executes it. There's a song that we're working on. I call it the Dommy Mommy song, but it's like more of a switchy song, and it's called Soft Boy. It's just, oh my God. Jason is so amazing. He created this guitar part on it that sounds so like Tim Burton-y and like creepy, but in like a really sensual kind of way. And it's just like, it like gives me chills. I'm just like, oh my God. It like reminds me of being in a speakeasy, like for some reason. Like it's like really cool. The whole song is just like on your knees, so pathetic for me. You say you want a snack, but you're too afraid to eat. So it's a really fun song. I'm really excited about that.
That is really fun. I cannot wait to listen. What are your challenges that you're facing right now? I mean, you mentioned it's hard to write when you're feeling a little stressed. Where's the stress coming from? How can we help?
So the challenge is just like, it takes so much trust to go into the studio and record this music and book these dates with not knowing if I have the resources yet to actually do it. We booked all the dates. To be so frank, like I don't have the money to pay for them all because we did it ahead of time, you know. That tension and that stress of just being like having to rely on my community, which I love my community. Like my community is fantastic and amazing and so supportive, but like your girl has trust issues, right? So it's just working and creating from a vulnerable spot. So while simultaneously needing to open up and accept that I need help from other people and I need to ask for help. That is something that I personally struggle with a lot, is asking for help. So having a crowdfund and asking for help to make the album is like so challenging for me. I'm so overwhelmed with like gratitude of the turnout that it has been so far. But I guess, that challenge of being vulnerable and creative and creating from that high place while also trying not to have the doubt and the fear of the unsurety of it all. The first day I got to the studio, day one of recording, I got out of the car and went to walk in, and there was this big long black snake like blocking the door, slithering across the doorway, and I like screamed a little and I was like, oh my God, should I call Jason and like get him to let me in through this side? And then I was just like, no, I'm just gonna scurry in. And so I like opened the door and just like jumped in, and I feel like that just like set the precedent of this entire process of just, that's really scary, but I'm just gonna go really fast and just hop in and just do it anyway. And that's just like literally what it's been feeling like this entire time.
That is quite poetic. It is exactly what's happening. Because I was like, when you started explaining what was stressing you out, I was like, yes, you realized that your art was worth overcoming the fear of having to ask for help, which is huge. I feel that in my chest too. This whole like, oh no, it's time to fundraise.
voicing a need. I know he said
Yes.
this before. I think it's worth saying again. Just if I could live my life in one giant CNC scene, I would, and just like be forced to have everything I want without me like, and just like, oh no, don't give me this money, like make this album. Yeah, I have to like use my words and ask for it, and I'm like, fuck, like, oh my god, this is hard.
I'm trying to even imagine. I've never even envisioned a CNC scene where I'm just forced to have everything I want. It's like an actual good pleasure dom, but like because you'd get everything you want, and it would be a painful experience for you to receive all the fundraising. So
literally, it's because like I love CNC, and I think that I want it, right? But I'm not asking for it in the moment because I'm being forced to have it.
Yes.
And so like I'm just like, man, this would be so much easier.
This episode is coming out June 25th, meaning we have 10 more days to raise enough funds so Deore can get into the studio and record and sort of like scurry past this snake that's basically trying to eat you, of like, you have a time crunch to get this
and like
paid.
It's been so amazing because like the majority of people who have donated thus far are people I don't know, like that I haven't met in real life yet, and so it just goes to show that our community is out there. There are people out there who are hungry for this kind of art, who are hungry for this kind of representation. It's just a matter of finding our people and bringing them together, like to make this happen. And I think that's possible. It's just a matter of finding them and finding more of our crew.
It's about like pulling our community together, which is something that I always want to be able to do. The Brat EP has over 1 million listens.
Yes, it's crazy.
And I mean, while 200,000 of those might just be my listens alone, I think that that's still a large swath of other people listening to the Brat EP. I listened to every song on repeat. So like my Spotify on repeat list, when you would drop a new song, within a couple of days, it was the #1 song on my unrepeat list.
I love hearing that you're enjoying it and just like,
oh my God, beyond enjoying it, breathing it, living it. It speaks to me so much. And if it's speaking to me, that has to be the experience everyone else is having too. I made a video once and you commented, "This is what I do." And I was like, oh, I don't even remember what the video is. But I'm also realizing for new listeners, you are not just writing this music, you're living it for real too, because we've talked about your husband. I think this is a really inspiring story that is worth telling again. When you met him, he wasn't a dom. He wasn't even openly kinky. I'm not sure if he was kinky at all, but you kind of taught him.
We went to the store the other day and literally there's this like vanilla Neapolitan ice cream that we saw, and he was like, my culture. like looking at it. No, he like in the very beginning, like he was not kinky. Like he didn't really show signs like or anything, I brought it up and asked for it, explained what it was that I wanted. And I think there's this like hyper focus of people wanting to find these batteries included doms.
Yes.
Just these like ready-made doms ready to go. The focus should just be on finding a good person, because like a good person who's right for you, if you guys are compatible and vibe and you trust them and they want to care for you in the way that like you need to be cared for, you'll be open to it and you can like go through it together and just like explain it together.
Ooh, this could be a debate team topic. I agree with you completely. The piece that's most important there is care for you the way you need to be cared for. I think that was like what you said, because they need to be able to do that, to lean in, and you need to pick someone who does that specifically.
Yeah, and that's not for everybody though. Like that, not everybody's going to be able to do that. That's not a bad thing. That just means there's a compatibility issue. And if it's like, that happens in vanilla relationships all the time. Like, it's not just with kink. There's vanilla ways that you might need to be cared for that someone can't deliver to you, and it's just not a compatible situation. And like, I think that's just like part of it,
That's very true. So do you have a song that could help guide people through this part of it, like the teaching someone? If not, I think that needs to be on your future list.
So surprisingly, like Brat, Humor Me was that song for me. That it was just very blunt and to the point, because I felt myself starting to over-explain and justify when voicing what it was that I wanted. And so when I remember the headspace I was when I wrote that song was like, if I'm just as frank and blunt as possible and don't care about how crazy it sounds, like maybe I'll feel more understood, I guess.
It's my favorite song of yours because as I listened to every lyric, that made it onto my on repeat list in less than 24 hours. That's how many times I listened to it. That's a fucked up amount of listening to that song. It was on repeat for 8 hours straight, and I am not exaggerating.
A story I hear a lot from my listeners, which I think is so special and so amazing, is that the music has motivated them or inspired them to bring up DS to their partners for the first time. I think that's extremely special. I know how vulnerable it feels to voice a desire for a kink relationship with someone that you aren't sure if they're going to be receptive or not. I think a subconscious way we start to test the waters is by exposing that person to media to see how they react, whether it's sending a meme or jokingly calling them sir or daddy, or like you start kind of putting feelers out. At least that's what I've observed, to just be like, oh my God, like how are they going to respond to this? Like, wonder what this is going to be like. I've heard stories of people like playing my music in the car, or like being in a group setting with them and just having it on and just seeing what their response is. And sometimes it starts a conversation and sometimes it doesn't, or whatever. So I really enjoy the research element that people use it for.
I'm a huge fan of having an open conversation, but even I know that we rarely, myself included, can say the hard things of like, here, let me open myself up and be super vulnerable and just tell you exactly how I feel.
There needs to be an open conversation. Like, you have to be able to clearly say exactly what it is that you need and want. But I do understand that going to that, arriving at that point can be challenging when you're just like raw dogging it. You're like, I'm waking up today and today I'm going to tell my person that I want them to beat me up.
You need to ramp up to that.
Yeah. It's like, you're like, okay, like, I wonder what they're going to think of this movie. Do I want to see Baby Girl with me in theaters? Like, what, like, you know, you're just like, what's going on? Like, I feel like people use art in media to express their own selves when they don't have the words, but also just to like see what the reaction is, see like what the conversation is going to be like. It's like a starter to the conversation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see Baby Girl?
I actually watched it with my Discord. We watched it all
cool.
together. It was really funny. It was really fun to just comment on it and watch it at the same time.
I think that might be the only person who liked it.
I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was fine. There's a lot of discourse about it, but I was like, as a movie, I think it was like diet kink.
It was, but to other people, it was the kinkiest thing they'd ever seen.
Yeah, we refer to it as 50 Shades of Father Figure by George Michael.
That's actually a really good way to put this. This is perfect. I still need to make a video on my thoughts on it. I mean, the movie's been out for 6 months, but like, I have so many thoughts. I'll hold it for a video. Okay.
I really appreciated the Nicole Kidman's portrayal of like the shame aspect of it.
Yes.
I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. And I think when people think of kink movie, they expect a very jarring, intense kind of experience. But I think the movie was a little more nuanced than we thought it would be. And if you like watch it and you're like, yeah, she's telling her husband what she wants from under a blanket, or like she's this headstrong CEO that secretly wants to give up that power or whatever. I think there's a lot of like nuance to it that kind of gets missed. But
I agree. What really fucking frustrates me though is everyone acting like, oh, there's no way Antonio Banderas would say, whatever her husband's character's name is, would say no to this. And I'm like, no, that is exactly what happens. Those are my clients. Where like the husband and wife come in and the desires are mismatched and I need to help one come to the other. I was like, when I watched that, I was like, oh my God, these people need me.
Literally,
like,
what you do is so important. Like,
literally what I do is help couples like that. And the fact that so many people disqualified that that's a real lived experience by so many couples really bothered me. I see it on a weekly basis. I will get a new couple in and that is exactly what's happening. And one person feels a lot of shame. And then they have these erratic or static moments in their lives where they're just like, sometimes they'll pop off, have this surge of it needs to happen. And then they're able to bury it again. And then a surge. Like that was what we were watching in real time too. Ugh, I need to make a video about this because I'm very passionate.
I would love to watch that video. Like when you release it, I'll be like the first person to watch it because I want you to keep talking about this because I'm like, oh, what else? Like, what else do you think? Because like all of this is so true. And I think like there's a lot of guilt that comes, especially from our doms, of just feelings of guilt and like shame around, oh, am I a bad person for like wanting to like do this or whatever.
You're so right.
Yeah, and it makes me so sad because like I think that hurdle, it's not talked about enough. Like, oh, you should want this. And it's like, not everybody wants to feel like a monster. And I'm not saying that if you're a sadist, you're a monster at all. If your first exposure to testing out kink is to act in a way that you've been taught is not the way to act, it can feel very scary.
I do work with a lot of men who are dominant and they just want to let that part of themselves out, and they have a lot of shame because they've spent their whole life being told men are bad and your urges are wrong, which is understandable if it's not consensual. Of course that's wrong. But consensually, there is a place for it. And I just always try and push, I always just try and say, you are somebody's solution.
Not everything. I call this like grand truths or whatever. I refer to that when songwriting a lot because there's always this pressure to say something so deep and profound and have it be this weighted revelation. But not everything has to be that way. And sometimes you can just be a sadist because it's fun. It doesn't have to be this like grand statement about who you are as a person or like all this weight that we put on it. It doesn't have to be that way. And it's okay if it's not. Like you have permission to enjoy yourself in this way just because you enjoy yourself if it's consensual.
100%. We need to go listen to our original episode because I'm pretty sure it ended very similarly. Like on this point of like, you are free to be who you want as long as there's consent and negotiation. All right. So the album is going to be called Tantrums. And I want to encourage everybody to go to Indiegogo and search Tantrums. Deore's album is the first one to come up, but you can also go to Deore BBY on Instagram and find her links in bio with all of this information. We need to, as a community, have this album made. If you have not listened to any of her music, please go listen out, especially to the song Brat.
This is a theme that I've found with like helpers, like people in the world who help other people. And that's their gift. And that's like what they do. Their purpose in life is to like help people. Is that like your greatest power? This sounds so cliche, but your greatest power comes from your greatest weakness and insecurity. And so the solutions that you bring to other people is often going to be the problem that you're facing yourself. I've noticed that with my own music because I want to connect people and I write because I yearn for this, for feeling like I belong somewhere and like all this stuff. I feel so chronically alone all the time. That's just like my emotional experience is I feel very disconnected and isolated just in my brain. That's just like the world in which I live. But like the solution and the drive and the motivation that you have to bring your gift, like share your gift with other people, unfortunately, a lot of the time it comes from the problem that you're so acquainted with the problem because you've lived the problem. That doesn't mean that this is where you're going to live forever. It feels powerless and like passive to do that. But it's just like sometimes you receive what you want when you open your hands. And when you open your hands, you're letting go of control too because you're not holding on so tightly. That balance of like,
I want other people to have the experience I had. Go listen to Brat, humor me. And I genuinely feel like that's all anybody needs to listen to. And then they're of course going to support because more music like that is what our community needs. We need all forms of art that really represent our lived experience. Music, the content we create, movies like Baby Girl, all forms of art that are kink inclusive or representative. I think more of that can only help, you know, especially the positive stuff you put out.
I agree. And I think like having art and media that comes from different angles even, because just being like a kinky person living in this dynamic is such a diverse, multifaceted experience full of nuance and subtleties. It's not all whips and chains. It's such a mental game as well. And I think media in general, like it's easier to put out something that gets a strong emotional response. And, you know, people are responsive to things that are very large and just graphic and plain. With the way social media is set up, there's a missed opportunity for more people to talk about the more nuanced, subtle aspects of kink that kind of fly under the radar, feeling why do we want subspace? Why do I crave control? You know, how come me as this like hyper independent person who can't ask for help want to be put in situations where I'm helpless and have that control taken away from me? I love talking about all those kinds of things, the hyper independent burnout and like all those themes. And I think that like if that conversation happens more people will feel seen and like understood and not feel as like get a more 3D picture of what the kink experience is.
You just made like point after point after point that I was trying to hold on to address. But yes, the first step in that is naming your wants and desires before you can even explore why are those my wants and desires. And I think your music is so helpful in putting words to the wants and desires in the first place. It's a stable stepping stone for people moving in the right direction to explore their own needs and desires and explain them to their partner.
I think it's really empowering to normalize. I think
oh my gosh, normalize
is so powerful because it's like the antidote of shame is to normalize the experience and to speak on it and be like, oh, this is something that happens. I've thought about it so much I could probably tell you why I feel this way. I think hearing an experience of someone else's that kind of matches with yours is extremely powerful and healing. And that's like a big motivator for me to make kink music is like, you know, on the surface level, I want to make kink music because it's fun and we all deserve this kind of media. But I also want people to just like feel they can be their most authentic selves without any shame. They can understand themselves better and they can have their partner understand themselves better too, like just by giving words to something. I love fostering connections in that way a lot.
Yeah. The gift you are giving the world is kink music. We have 10 days, community, to get it together and raise money to have this album made. And this is a passion of mine because I care so much about your music, Deore. I am excited for this album. October is my birthday month, so it would be quite perfect.
Gift.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. So like the crowdfund pays for 12 days at the studio that I work out of with my producer, Jason Scavone. We're remastering the entire Brat EP and the album together to make it all sound really clean and just good. With Ryan Smith out of Sterling Sound in Nashville. He's like a 5-time Grammy nominated mastering engineer. He's mastered like the Black Keys and stuff. Crowdfund also pays for promotional photography and album cover photography and like the necessary props that are going to go into that. And we're still staying in the Y2K glittery hyper femme realm.
We have 10 days. I am really excited. And I mean, there's just so much there. I'd encourage everyone to at least even just go check out the Indiegogo page and Deore's Instagram.
Yes, get you some merch. I'm doing like homemade friendship bracelets. These shirts actually are part of the merch bundle, like lyric artwork. There's like tons of, this is the first time I'm released merch as well. If anybody wants Deore merch, that is the place to get it. So head over and check it out and let's make kinky music.
Okay, Deore, I am so excited for this album to come out in my birthday month. Thank you for joining me and good luck with everything. Seriously, this October, it's going to be the highlight of my year for many reasons.
Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on here and just chatting it up with you. Like this has been so fun and just like thank you so much.
We'll keep an eye on your tour schedule and where you'll be and all of the great things you have coming. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.